Good evening, I'm Julie Chen.
Wake up, everybody!
But first,
I cannot. On my daughter's birthday. Disgusting. Anybody want cake?
I want to welcome you guys all to my big brother funeral.
Can't find an individual to hate because I hate you all.
Welcome to Not Game, All Personal. Hey, we are a Big Brother podcast here talking about all things Big Brother, more specifically the events of this past week. Big Brother 26. We made it to jury. Tony, congrats on making it to jury. How are you feeling?
Thank you so much. I'm feeling lovely. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling fine.
No more Ainsley? Are we feeling or no? I guess she's still
That actually breaks
around.
my heart.
But she's no
She's
no
just
AI
fixed.
arena, right? I don't know. I don't know the lore.
Like, the issue was Ainsley was broken, right?
And that's why the AI arena needed to exist?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because she was glitching out and everything.
You know how much I love the themes
You
when it
love
comes to the
themes.
twists.
But just go through all the themes for us, Nathan.
Well, we had the internet one in season 20. You got the temptation one in 19. I just remember the tree of temptation, something with like apples that you would pick, and I don't know.
The Den of Temptation.
That's right, because Paul got the snake power or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, America, who do you want to stay in the house for 3 weeks? Oh, let's vote for the one person we know.
Nah, that's not how that works. They definitely didn't do that this season as well, and it didn't bite them in the butt.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, as far as twists go, I think, can we conclude AI Arena was a win as far as the Big Brother standard of twists, was it the best ever? Maybe not, but like, as far as Big Brother standards, like, pretty well done, well executed. I think added a lot to the season.
And it didn't make a comp beast invincible.
No.
Granted, if a comp beast keeps volunteering to go on the block, they're gonna not win them both eventually, probably. But still, like it didn't make these people invincible. The archetype that has been winning the last few years. So
Yeah.
I'm all in on it. I think it was awesome. I hope they do it again.
I can't imagine them not bringing it back. I feel like I've only seen positive things from the super fans, the casuals. Like it feels like, again, not perfect, and I think it could lend to issues wherein if we see it in another 3-4 seasons, people will probably try to meta game it in a way that isn't as fun. But like right now, I think it did what it was supposed to do, and I think it made the live feeds on that, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday much more enjoyable because the gaming wasn't done Monday night once the veto ceremony was done. And I think it also caused a slight bit more of chaos on the Thursday episodes because we never really knew. I don't know if there was a week where we were 100% confident because you were never sure who those final 2 seats were going to be. So there was always some unknown variable there. So I think it did lead to, more blindsides. I do think there probably is a correlation between that and having this season. So far, every veto has been used this season, which is insane.
That's wild.
There hasn't been a unanimous vote. I think the closest we've got was the Brooklyn vote, which had 1 vote to save her from Chelsea. But besides that, like, everyone has been split, blindsides.
Legitimately split because they have to keep it so close to the chest because they don't want it to get out that in a certain scenario they're going to vote out this person who ends up not being like, it's sorry, I interrupted. But
No,
it's so good.
that's my point. It's great, and I think everyone loves it. Let's keep doing it.
Yes, please. Final answer.
Final answer. Okay, well, I'm having a bad 2 weeks. I know we got to talk about last week a little bit, too.
It's
a bad 2
I'm
weeks for
sorry.
Nathan. I'll say that.
I'm
Can we
sorry
start?
for you. That's a heartbreaking couple weeks back to back.
I think
I have to talk about both of them.
Well, I think everyone was equally heartbroken about Tucker. I didn't have any personal ties to him other than just like, what a player. This might be the most for sure America's Favorite House Guest I think we've ever seen.
Oh yeah, especially pre-jury, like he's still gonna win it by a mile.
I don't think there has been. I'm gonna try to look it up real quick.
We had this conversation last year.
Did we?
I don't remember what we landed on.
I'm pretty sure no, because who did we think would take it? from the pre-jury. I don't even know.
From
who
last
the-
year?
Yeah, like why did we have that conversation?
Oh, we thought it would be Heisem, I think.
Did we really?
No, Cameron. Cameron was the one. I was kidding. It wasn't Heisem. It was Cameron.
Well,
Because
Cameron did win it though.
Normies loved Cameron.
But didn't Cameron make jury? Cameron
Ooh,
made
he might
jury.
have.
Yeah, no, he
Might have.
did. I don't know. I'm not finding this immediately. Actually, wait, I
Yep.
lied. Here's the main article. Okay. I mean, now I just need to decide if these people made jury or not. I think they all did. You got Alyssa, you had James in 17, Victor 18, Cody, Tyler, Nicole. Yeah, I mean, they all made jury. Every single one that made jury.
Mhm.
So this would be the first, and I don't even see another option. Like, I don't think there's a personality left in the house that could grow as strong as him. And that's not to knock any of them, but like his presence was so strong in the fandom. Like, it's a shoo-in, right?
There's no one, and like, it had a different energy the last few episodes, and just like in the house, it feels like since he left, because he was
Yeah.
the character of the season. Not that it's been bad, because the gameplay this week has been good.
Yeah,
Even
there's
if
still
it
stuff to talk
ended-
about. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they're still gaming hard, but still, that it definitely left a hole.
Yeah. So that was the bummer. Just across the globe, everyone mourning him. But then tonight was especially a loss for me, as I lost my guy Joseph, my
Mhm.
number 1 draft pick, the underdog that no one saw anything in, and I called my shot. And I'm not backing down on what I said about him, but it is disappointing to not see it play out the way I wanted it to.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I'm sure we'll get into plenty of Joseph talk. I want to pick your brain a little bit.
yeah, no, we'll get into it. I guess we can just briefly brush on last week. We don't need to go into all the details. Obviously, we know Tucker's gone. I think the biggest storyline that I took away from last week is, what do we make of T-Core's HOH? The fact that he went on it. Because I think even watching this week and thinking back to last week, I still have no idea what she was trying to do. I don't know if she knew what she was trying to do. And it just seems extremely bizarre that, like, she spent the past few weeks, the Cedric blindside was a huge shift. She
Mhm.
tries to make this 4-person alliance that turns into a 5th-person alliance that adds Joseph to 6th Avenue. And she ends up putting 2 of those 6 people on the block who end up sitting next to each other on eviction. Like, I mean, it's hard for me to, like, be disappointed in Tucker's game at that point, because he just got completely screwed by one of, like, the top 3 people that should have had his back.
Well, that's what happens when you play the game of just putting people up that are the defaults. Like Mackenzie and Angela are the defaults at this point, and Tucker volunteered. And to be on Tucker's side a little bit, just because he volunteers doesn't mean you have to put him up. It shows a lot actually of like trust in your alliance if you don't put him up in that situation. But she just decided to do that every single time, every opportunity she was given. And everybody did. He was on the block almost every week that it wasn't HOH. Basically, he was on the block.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see how you leave that week thinking it's a win. Yes, you got Tucker out, and you had to do that eventually. And who knows? He could have this could have been the one opportunity, and he could have won out because he was that much better than everybody else in competitions. But they had to know AI Arena was ending at some point, and that significantly reduces. Like, I don't know. It seemed like a weird time to take that shot.
Yeah, and I think she could get to the end and pitch it as like, hey, remember that big threat? He went home on my week. But I don't even think that's like a good move for her, because again, like, this was a big threat that was working for her. And I think she knew that too. Like, I don't think she doubted it. I don't think this was because, like, I'm losing trust in him. Like, there was like a little bit in the episodes in the DR about like, oh, he's hanging out with Cam too much, blah 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 blah. But like, I don't even think that was like really sincere. I think that was more of a narrative that like the episode had to do to make it make sense for the audience. Like, I think according to her, she would have still trusted him. She just got blindsided on her own HOH the same way that she did that to Quinn. So which we'll talk about Quinn's HOH tonight, but it's like,
Yeah, we will.
why are we putting our allies on the block and thinking the house isn't going to blindside us when there is a clear pattern that you started, Tikor? You're the one that started this pattern.
It's the world of trying to be friends with everybody, especially for Quinn specifically. Like he says that he's allied with everybody, and so it comes down to Joseph for some reason is his only option because of all the alliances he has, and you're putting your ally at risk at that point. And so maybe Joseph was the most expendable of his allies, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy that they keep doing that. It's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and expecting a different result.
Yeah. And I mean, I think especially like, okay, the first time it happens to Quinn, again, horrible move. And I think it's one of those moves that's like, I don't even blame Cedric for getting voted out so early because like he shouldn't have been on the block.
Mhm.
But like once you that's like the one strike you get. Like that's it. After that, like don't do it again. But then Tikor does it again, okay? And then it's like, oh, okay, now have we learned? And then no, we haven't learned. We are still putting allies on the block, putting our fate in the AI arena, which has really only worked once. The one time that was a successful plan was with Tucker when he did it to himself, where he said, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do it. And then I think because of that, everyone's just like, oh, well, it's okay if one of the 3 spots is my ally because blah, 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 blah. Like, it's just, I don't understand it. So, I don't know. I'm really struggling to see. I think my biggest take walking away from these 2 weeks, this is my whole point. I think there are far more bad players left than good players. I would say there are maybe 2 players that I would consider good. Everyone else, I think, is just either chaotic, just riding it out and just following the plan, or just there by luck. And I think that leads to an entertaining season.
Yeah.
But I think that's my biggest take, because I also look at this week with Joseph, and I'm like, sure, there are little things I think he could have done better, but this, to me, is more of a failure on Quinn than a failure on Joseph.
Oh yeah. Like I think, I think Joseph was, and these are things that we'll talk about, I'm sure, a little bit more later. I think he was overconfident and thought that he had more people to back him up than he did, but it was not his fault that he was put in the position to then have that come to fruit. Like there was no reason he should have been on the block. Once he was on the block, I don't think he had as much capital as he thought he did. And obviously he said that once he was out with Julie, but yeah, he shouldn't have been in that situation. So yeah, definitely Quinn's fault.
And I think the interesting thing is, it's not even that like Chemo had more capital. And I think that's also like leading to my point where it's like, Chemo's not still in the house because of anything he did.
Yeah.
It's all just like a repercussion from this and this. Like, it's just like this chain of events that happen. And so it's like, well, we have to blindside someone. And unfortunately, it's Joseph this week. And
yeah, Chemo, go ahead.
No, I mean, that's it. Like, I don't think Chemo did anything to like save himself.
Chemo has this weird strategy where he just hangs out with one person the entire season and then expects people to save him because he's nice, maybe. I don't know. It's a weird thing that I don't understand.
Well, hey, I got to write it out because this is my last draft pick in the game.
Do I have anyone left at this point?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, you're not looking, I'd say, great. Well, no,
I
maybe.
got Chelsea, didn't I?
You got Chelsea and Tikor.
Okay. Oh.
So you're gonna beat me. I was you know.
Well, I had my first one go out pretty early, so they'd have to last a little bit still.
Yes, but I had my first one, Brooklyn, go the week after you. So you were only a week behind me, and now I have 2 out. So if Tikor or Chelsea go next week, then we're even.
Okay.
But if they don't, I'm gonna need Chemo to pretty much win, and I just. I might have picked wrong, but again, like, I don't know who else I would have picked. Like, which again, I got 2 good players this season. I'll reveal that whenever you want me to reveal it, but that's what I got.
I have one that I don't even know if we'll agree on who the good players are. which is interesting. Because
How many do you think you have? Like, if you had to just
one
binary
that I'm-
good and bad.
Oh, binary, good and bad.
Well, okay, maybe three tiers. We'll just do it 3 tiers. Like, I think there's a couple bad players, most bad players. I think there's maybe like 2 that are fine, and 2 that are good players. I think I'm
I
doing
could
that
put
math
2
right.
in good. One is teetering on fine. Mostly
Actu-
bad.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Should we just reveal?
Well, I just want to say before we move on from last week,
Yeah. Let's finish out last week.
Tucker absolutely rules. It bummed me out because in that last week and for the past couple weeks, he definitely has done some of the like, oh, I don't really want to be here. Like this is a lot for like not like kind of asking to go out, but not necessarily fully being like, yep, vote me out. He's not to the Kenny level of Kenny was what Kenny was for the 3 weeks he was in the house, but he was kind of asking to get voted out. I think he realized he'd solidified his spot in whatever show he wants to do after this because that's kind of his goal. And so that does taint it a little bit for me. But boy, do I love Tucker, and I'm going to root for him on the challenge and whatever else he decides to do.
Yeah, I think it's definitely tough because, I mean, it was confirmed like he was a recruit. Like he hasn't seen the show. Like him and Cam had like a full on conversation one time on the live feeds, and then it got cut like real quick because for whatever reason, Big Brother still tries to hide that like not everyone on there is a super fan.
Doesn't he like know Cody too? Or did I make that up?
Yes, no, he does know Cody. I don't know how well, but part of it was I think he didn't contact Cody before going on, even though he like knows him personally. So people were kind of
weird.
like like why aren't you contacting the winner? But then it turns out like he just doesn't watch the show. Like so he does know Cody,
Yeah.
but like not. Yeah, so it's very bizarre. So I don't know. I feel like that's definitely part of it, and I think there was genuine frustration by trying to play a game that no one else seems to want to play. You know, I think he was a little surprised by like, wait, you guys all just want to sit around, form a big alliance, and just ride this out, get picked off one by one. Like, what is going on? Like, let's play some games. And he was shocked that no one wanted to match that level. So I don't know. I think like
games.
in that sense, I give him a little bit of leeway because I'm like, yeah, I get it. That would be annoying to be in a house, and I would probably want to leave rather than have to do another like 2 months of like everyone hating you for doing what you think is good moves in a show you've never seen. I don't know.
Yeah. And so when it came to like the stuff when he got mad at Cedric, didn't super understand that. I definitely understand him being a little frustrated that T-Core didn't like do the things that he asked or like like yeah, it's not fair of him to assume that she will, but he gave her $5,000, like did all these things to like help her out and like volunteered to be on the block. And you want there to be a quid pro quo. Yes, it's gameplay, and that's not necessarily always the case, but I understand the frustration and being like, what are we even doing here at this point?
Well, I think especially because I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think if someone else on the block, I think the outcome is just different as far as like, because I know him and Angela kind of had their thing, but like, who's to say she wouldn't have eventually come back around into that alliance and be like, okay, I'm going to keep him. I think Tucker, if I'm not mistaken, wanted Leah on the block, and Leah was a vote against Tucker, so there you go. At very least, you have a chance to get Angela's vote, I guess. So I don't know. I think it was a fair gripe against T-Core, because again, like, are you putting me on the block if after I helped you flip the house, I kept you safe on my HOH, I this, and you're putting me on the block and then not listening to my advice. Like, I get it.
What thoughts? Last thing on last week on Angela being the mastermind behind Tucker going, because that's how it felt like the show gave it to me, and I don't think that's correct.
Well,
Like,
it was
possibly
interesting.
be.
I felt like Wednesday's episode was a lot of Angela, but then Thursday it like switched to Chelsea almost, where Chelsea had a big edit, and I didn't really feel like it was either of them alone. So I don't know. I was more interested in the production aspect of like them kind of going back and forth between those two players, where it was like, wait a minute, I thought it was Angela. Now you're telling me it's Chelsea? Like, I don't know. So that was a little bizarre, because in my mind it was like, well, I didn't think it was so much of a flip. In my mind, like, Tucker was always the number one vote, especially for those people. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Chelsea didn't flip her vote. She always wanted him out. Quinn didn't flip his vote. He always wanted Tucker out.
Mhm.
So it was weird how they presented it as, like, a big flip.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just wild to me. And then Angela's breakdown at the veto ceremony where she like just started freaking out, and I can't handle her, Nathan. She's just
Are you
so
over her?
frustrating. I've been over her for a month now.
Oh
probably.
my goodness, no. I am still all in, especially after this week, which we'll get into. But man, she would be my number 2 America's Favorite House guest if it wasn't for Tucker.
Oh,
Not
man,
even
that's
close.
insane.
Every single thing she does, I eat it up. I love it so much.
I do love to hate it, to be fair, because she's not mean spirited. She's just very like some people are just like, you're just a bad person, and like I don't like you being around. She's just dumb, kind of. Just doesn't know what she's doing. A little
No,
overconfident.
I mean she's not a good player.
emotional,
Although
wildly emotional.
here's the thing though. She has had the veto used on her twice this season by other people. At what point do we call this a good social game? Or is this another like it has nothing to do with her?
I think it's that.
Okay, well let's get a little bit into this week's veto because I think Leah using the veto on her was all social.
I don't fully understand why Leah, and maybe I wasn't paying super close attention. I don't fully understand what Leah's thought process was behind that.
I think Leah just recognized that Angela is the only person in the house that is paying attention to her. And I think is rightfully so. I think I think like Leah's game is very interesting because I think early on, her and Mackenzie appear to have some sort of alliance truce, but like they just kind of fell apart just because I don't know, they just don't connect, you know? They're just not people that naturally hang out. And so Leah's like game has essentially just been like trying to maintain these guys that are obsessed with her. Like at first it was Cam, now it's like Quinn and Joseph, and she's just kind of like, okay, like these are the only people that'll talk to me because like the other girls are trying to like click off now. And so I think she just recognized Angela as like, you're the only person that's talking to me. Like here, I was a part of this blind side of getting Tucker out with Mackenzie, Chelsea, Rubina, like, or not Rubina, sorry. And now they're not talking game with me. Like they're all up in Quinn's HOH room plotting. So I think that was more it, where I think it was a poor job on everyone else of including her until she won the veto, and then they wanted to tell her what to do. Whereas Angela was like actually having a relationship with her, with or without that veto win.
That's fair. I still think that it's just it's gonna be really hard to get me to give credit to Angela for really anything that she's done in this game. And I feel that feels mean, but that's just how I feel. It feels
Okay.
like-
What about these the 2 HOH wins? Does she not get credit for those either?
I can't remember what the competitions were.
What about the 2 times she was on the block after the AI arena and stayed in the game?
No, I see, because I view her in the same vein. I think she's a goat. I think, was it Quinn who was talking about like, I want to get rid of Angela because if I'm like, on the block next to her, I'm going because she is so beatable. I think that's genuinely what it is. And maybe she'll turn it on at the end, or it'll turn around and somehow she'll be this lovable, like I've been on the block this many times and win because of it. But I don't think people are keeping her around because she's doing something so good in the game. I think, and maybe, I guess you could argue that her threat level is super low and she's doing well that way. I think she gives me major GOAT vibes.
I don't know how you can be a GOAT and have that many moves. I think that's my thing.
A lot of the things you described were things that other people did to her and not she didn't do.
I think
she won
it's
those
I think
HOHs,
it's
sure.
completely split. Because I think the two you got 2 HOH wins, 2 veto uses on her, and 2 times she was on the block at eviction night, okay? So like we got 6 things. I think 2 HOH wins you have to give to her. Like you just do.
Sure.
And I think both of those HOHs, I think in comparison to like I think the best HOH this season was probably Chelsea and Tucker, right? Like, just two. That's exactly what you want to do in your HOH. Besides that, it's probably her. I think everyone else, especially looking at like, well, I mean, it's just Quinn and Tikor. Like, I think like you can look at her HOHs as successful in comparison to the rest of the season. Okay, the 2 times she's on the block, maybe not her because of her. Okay, so now it's 2-2, and I think the veto uses you split. I think the Tucker one was random. That's just a Tucker move, but I think the Leo one is because of her. So I think it's 3-3. She's right down the middle, and I think she's done more than almost every. Actually, I'll say this: I think she has done more than everyone in the house.
Piss me off if she's one of your good players.
She wasn't, but now I'm convincing myself. Like when you list out her resume,
she can't be.
How?
She can't be.
But like the fact that week 1, we were like worst HOH ever. She's gonna go home week 2, and she's still here, continuing to build her resume.
But she's bad, Nathan.
But I think you're basing this on like a personality trait, which I don't really take into like she's not good when it comes to, I don't know, like she just calls people out and people don't like her, and she's like that, you know, typical white suburban mom that everyone, you know, likes to dog on. But as like a resume alone, I think
you don't get resume alone. You don't get resume alone. If it was resume alone, the winning for years would be different. Probably no, not the last couple of years. Okay, maybe. But again, I think we were. Hey, we'll revisit it. Okay. We'll table it. We'll revisit it. We'll revisit it.
I think she's moved up into the medium tier for me. Not a bad player in my mind.
I do not enjoy watching her on my TV, so I'm coming from that place where I'm gonna just defend to the end that she stinks.
I don't even understand that though. I like without her on this season, we wouldn't have the season we have.
I told you, I love to hate her. That's where I'm at. But that doesn't mean I like her.
What's the difference between her and Tucker?
Tucker's charming in any capacity. He doesn't cry.
I regret this. I regret this question.
Cool.
I have noticed that is a trend with you. If people cry too much, you're out on them. I have noticed that.
It's
across
true.
The board.
I'm okay with that being a trait of mine. Absolutely.
All right.
Because everybody was crying when they voted out Tucker. Everybody was, and they all and it's like, oh, Tucker rules. Sure, yeah, whatever. But ain't nobody crying when Brooklyn got voted out. I don't think.
No.
Maybe Chelsea.
No, not at all.
All right. So close the chapter on last week and Tucker and all of that stuff.
And all of Angela, I think. That's all we have to say, right? There's nothing more to...
Yeah, please.
Other than she somehow got out of being the house target this week.
Well, one more thing about Angela.
Yeah.
Do you think Tucker was trying to deceive her when he was like, I want to be... Like, I want to go with you. Like, you were the person that I linked up with first, and I keep my word. And she was like, no, you're going to choose Rubina. What do you think of that whole situation?
Honestly, I think Tucker was just hoping it didn't ever have to come to that. I think he would have. I genuinely think he would have chosen Angela. Now, like, would he choose her over Rubina? That I don't know. That's obviously, like, that's the type of thing you say at the beginning of the season where it's like, I'm not going to get in a showmance, and like 2 weeks later, you like actually have to live with your feelings. You know, I think like if it was honestly another, what do we have, a month and a half left of the game, that's a lot of time to spend with Rubina. So let's maybe think about that then, because who knows where those feelings are going to develop to at that point.
I'm going to say one more thing and then we're going to move on because I don't want to deal with the ramifications of what I'm about to say. That's one area where I'll give Angela some credit because it is outrageous to think that Tucker was going to pick her over. Like, when it's a showmance, the showmance is always going to be the number one. And so her logic there made sense. And even if Tucker was saying that and genuinely saying that he would pick her, he might change his mind. And I think that's the place she was coming from.
Yeah.
But still, like, why would you throw away Tucker when you have, like, he's the ultimate shield? I don't know.
Well, no, and I think that's where I do think Tucker was taken advantage of by her, and also like T-Core, like we said, where like he literally kept himself on the block to use the veto on you. Like I don't know what more he could do,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you owe him something, and I don't think anyone repaid him for like anything that he did for
No.
them.
No, and I think it came from him being so like lighthearted and you almost have to feign this like bitterness when you're in the house, otherwise people will just walk all over you.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
if you immediately are just like, you know what, you screwed me over and voted out my closest person. It's fine though. Let's work together. If you're too quick to do that, people are just going to continue to walk all over you, and I think that he might have suffered from some of that.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. Last thing on Angela though, okay? Because now I am curious.
Yep.
Outside of Quinn, do you think there are other people that would place her towards the top of like a target list? Because I think Quinn's logic is correct in what you're saying. Like
Mm-hmm.
whether or not she's a goat, whatever. Like that logic is there. It's like, hey, if we don't get her out now, she's going to be the person that people just keep forever. But I think we're already there. Like I don't know who would use their HOH on her outside of Quinn at this point.
That's a fair point. It might be too late. You'd think that in 5 weeks somebody would see that, but I've been arguing for that for a couple seasons in Survivor, where you don't want to go to the end with a goat because that means somebody's going to take that goat instead of you. Unless you win, unless you're that confident you're going to win that challenge, they're going to take that goat over you every time. And so I think he's the only one who knows the game well enough to know that deep of a strategy or thought, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think other people are fine with rolling the dice and hoping to be against her. And honestly, she might impress like that happens where people out of nowhere just impress you in the final and then win the game somehow, and it's unexpected. But to me, she's
Well, the interesting thing is I feel like she's almost this twist on a trope that we've seen in the past couple of years on Big Brother and Survivor, where I think we joke about on Survivor, especially where it's like the mom threat, where it's like you get towards the end, it's like we can't let a mom get to the final; they'll vote for her. And I think the same thing happened last year with like Felicia in the final 5, where Jag and Matt are like Felicia's the biggest threat in the game. It's like, well, because she's a likable older person, and I think Angela's an interesting twist on that. Because while she is a mother, she is not a likable mom and does not fit that trope, even though she fits that life situation. So I think that could also be a blinder for people where if her personality is even slightly different, then they do start to view her as like, oh, well, she's a mother, she'll win. But I think people are like, she'll never win. So that's why we'll not waste our HOH on her.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's talk about this week and probably other players. We got a lot of people to talk to. Okay, let's actually go through our list. Who are your good players? I can't wait any longer.
I think Chelsea is one that I'd put as a good player, where I'm not sure if you would.
She is. No, I think she is the best player in the house. I don't think she is like an amazing player. I will say that.
She's the best
but
in the
I
house,
think
though.
yes,
Bar,
I think I think the bar is very low this season.
Yeah.
But yes, by a mile, I think she is probably the best we got.
And then the other one that I was thinking about putting in that category would be Rubina, I think.
Okay, so I think I bumped Rubina up to the middle ground. This is my take coming out of this week. I think Mackenzie is starting to find her way in this house, and I would place her almost in that good category, kind of teetering, but I think I would lean towards good. Only because I think she has shown herself to win competitions, not necessarily ones that have given her like a ton of power yet, but she has that ability, and I think she has survived long enough being at the bottom where now she can kind of coast for a bit because the bottom is now going to be last week's target that somehow survived, right? Like there might be more flip-flop where she can kind of blend in, and I think this week especially, she has really established important relationships. She really was a key to like tonight's flip. Flip, blindside, I don't know how you want to define it, but like she was a big part of that. It was like her, Chelsea, and kind of T-Core, in there too, but like I don't know. I just like I think I wrote her off for so long where now it's like, okay, no, I think she actually has something there and she's gonna be on my radar to potentially be like a really good player.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, and she's one that I definitely thought about. I don't know that I see anybody in the house as like a close ally of hers. Like it feels like she's a lot of people's like number two,
Yeah.
number three, number four range.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, this house is so fluid. Like you have a couple duos that are pretty lockstep for sure. Like you have T-Core and Chemo who are lockstep. I feel like Chelsea and Cam are pretty lockstep.
But
Other than
Chelsea
that,
blindsided Cam tonight.
true, that's very true. So
Like the
maybe not
big
as
turn
lockstep.
tonight was like, let's stop listening to the guys and let's like us girls decide where the vote's going.
Yeah, they're going girls alliance, man.
So
But yeah, so even that one, not so much. Like maybe only Chemo and T-Core are the only like lockstep duo we have. And so maybe that's not as much of a negative for her because everybody's kind of in that place where their relationships are very fluid.
yeah, I think the game right now is as open as it's gonna be probably for the rest of the season. And I
Mhm.
think this is her moment to take advantage of that. And if she can really kind of take a hold of Chelsea from Cam, because I would agree, up until tonight's vote, I think they were lock and step. But now I'm like, yeah, I think Chelsea just showed that's like she'll probably still want to work with Cam, but she's not as tied to him as maybe we would have originally thought. So I think if Mackenzie could take advantage of the current fluidness in the house, like this could
Mhm.
be her moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I was nervous that you were gonna go Leah as your because like I've been seeing stuff on Twitter this week about like, oh, Leah's killing it. She's manipulating all these boys, blah 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 blah. And I was like, get out of my face. Like, no, Leah's not a good player. She doesn't know
I
what she's
mean,
doing.
I will put her in the middle for sure. I don't think she's a bad player.
I think she has been and this is a big knock for Mackenzie too. They're like week 3 or 4 were like, man, it's crazy. There's no alliances in this house. And yes,
Mhm.
there's room to grow and improve from that. But that lack of awareness is still there. Even if they've learned from it and grown a little bit, like I just don't see a ton of awareness there. The fact that Leah saved Angela because she's the only one who's like paying attention to her other than those two boys, like people aren't really I don't know. I don't see, she seems expendable to people to me.
See, I disagree. I don't think anyone would put her on the block right now. I don't think she has like that strong duo connection, but to me, what was most impressive about her use of the veto is that she literally did the exact opposite of what the HOH, who she's apparently close with, told her to do, and there was no ramifications for her. Absolutely nothing. Like nobody even questioned her. She wasn't put on the hot seat. It was just like, "Oh, we get it. You're Leah." And so I think there is some power there, and I think she holds that power with a couple of people. I think Joseph going this week did hurt her game. Because I truly do think she was working. Like I'm not like saying she's like the best player ever. That's why like she is in that middle tier for me. But like I do agree with the sentiment. Like she is working these boys, and it is working to her advantage. And I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's been a while since we've seen that strategy. I think that's definitely like an old school Big Brother kind of move. Flirt to win kind of thing.
A little poverty in her.
Yeah, but I think it's more of like just the position she's been put in, And so I think like I don't think she's as good as Mackenzie yet in my mind, but I think I see the vision and I see her like working her way to figuring it out. And she's another one where I think I don't know who would target her, at least for the next few weeks. She might be an expendable, like if she's on the block, hey, we have to blindside someone. That could be it, but I don't know. Like I don't really have much issue with what she's doing.
I don't think she's doing much. Like that's the biggest issue. Is she's just kind of there. Like, yeah, she doesn't have any enemies. She doesn't have anybody going after her. This is the first thing she's done, and she did it to the two people who are in love with her. And of course, we're gonna forgive her for it. Which, like, sure, maybe that's gameplay, or maybe that's fair play or good. Maybe I don't know, but yeah.
I mean,
I
I'll
just-
give
I
her
just don't
credit for
see it.
last week's Blindside. Like she was definitely a part of that, and
Yeah.
she was one of the voices to And I think that's where I was confused about like the Angela and Chelsea getting all the credit for Tucker's blindside, because I'm like, to me, I saw an equal like group of people that were all like, hey, these are the people we need to blindside. So I don't know. I don't see her needing to make those moves yet. And I think like this week was the first time she actually had any power, and I think she used it pretty much perfectly. Other than Quinn messing up and putting her ally up, which is, again, I don't think that's on her. I think she used the veto to like save an ally to build trust, and it didn't piss anyone off. So like I don't know, like
Yeah.
I think that's like the perfect use of a veto.
I wonder if she's benefited from the two most knowledgeable people of the game being in love with her in any way. And that's like not even sarcastic. Like just
Yeah.
benefiting from having those guys around and talking to her about the game. Like maybe she's picked up a thing or two and she's about to start playing. Like it's definitely possible.
And I think it is
Um,
interesting because I think like because her and Angela are kind of in this weird like we're isolated from like the group discussions, so we are bonding because of that. I do think if there are enough players in the end, could we see a more like social win as opposed to like, obviously last year like a comp win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think she could be like a Taylor type win where you get people criticizing her win because it wasn't as flashy or big moves, but it was built on relationships. Because I don't know, that is often overlooked when it comes to like super fans and how they like to compare winner stats.
Looking at what the jury will be, I'd almost bet on it being a social win. It just feels like that to me, based on the people that are here.
Yeah, I would agree.
So yeah, that's Chelsea, Leah, Mackenzie. Who else do we have to cover? I mentioned Rubina.
Yeah, I would put Rubina in the middle, I think.
I feel like she's navigated everything with Tucker pretty well. She has a lot of really good relationships. I feel like she's in a really good spot in general. Yeah, she was on the block, but that's just because of the Tucker stuff, and that was always going to happen whenever you're in a showmance or even close to somebody like Tucker. Do I think that she's done anything specific? Not necessarily. So that was what my hesitation in picking two, is I wasn't sure if I really wanted to put her in that good player category. And also,
Yeah,
I don't know how much she knows the game.
I think the way that I kind of looked at it was like, not so much what have they done, but it's more of like being proactive with it, where it's like, I think Chelsea has been proactive with her game. I think Leah and Rubina have been more reactive, where it's like, oh, this happened to me, so now I'll do this move. And I think like Rubina hasn't made any incorrect decisions as far as like spilling information, misusing a power, or anything like that. I think like, she won the AI arena tonight. She was saved from a vote. And I'll just throw in Cam right now too, because Cam's also in the middle for me, where it's like he hasn't done anything bad, but like really, if you look at like stats, it's like he won the veto and used it on himself. You know what I mean? So it's like he's not a bad player technically, but by far not a good one. He's just kind of like doing the right thing when it lands in his lap.
He feels like he's so much more passive though than a Rubino would be. Like
I
think
would
that's
agree
what
with that.
separates
Yeah.
them. Like where I don't know that I've seen him in any real conversations that make decisions. Whereas I feel like Rubina has been in those conversations and been a part of those conversations. She's also been blindsided by people who are in those conversations, but that's what happens when you're actually playing the game. You get blindsided because other people are also playing the game.
No, and Cam was blindsided tonight, so there you go. We're even.
Yeah,
I guess I don't know.
exactly. And so yeah, I think that separates them, and I'd put Cam in that lower category because he's just
That's
kind of
fair.
there, not doing anything, wants to compete, but isn't very good at competing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think everyone else I have in the bad categories, which is just
So that's Chemo, Quinn, to Core. Is that who we had left?
Yep. I think they're all not great players. Well,
Yeah.
okay. I think like Chemo's a little different. He's just not doing like just do something, just
Yeah.
I think Decor is similar. Like just do something, but she also had power. And then Quinn is just like I'm just so baffled.
Quinn's a whole other thing. We'll save Quinn for a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Just don't hold him back.
Chemo and Decor, one of their biggest knocks, and I mentioned it earlier, they only talk to each other.
Yes.
That's expanded
Yes.
a little bit.
Yes.
I will say the moment that they took a shot at Cedric was a very, very well timed move. I was upset with it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Cedric. It was a very well timed move because up to those first 3 weeks, it felt like they weren't doing anything. And then finally, they're like, it's time to make our move. We're doing this, and this happens. And then since then, they have been in kind of the power alliance. And then last week, Takora just decided to crap the bed and send out
Well,
the part of their, put up a bunch of their alliance and just kind of
yeah.
break some of those. Like, it just threw a lot of it away just for the sake of getting Tucker out, which sure, but you got Quinn, you got people who are going after Tucker. Like, take him out late in the game when it's like, I'm just taking you out so I can win. And I realize it's a roll of the dice, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, no, I think the most confusing part is like they pull off this house flip. Like the Cedric vote was like the defining moment where it's like big alliance out the door. We are working with the underdogs. But then they don't actually end up working with the underdogs.
Nope.
They think they're in the middle. And I'm like, do you really think Quinn is still your ally after you blindsided him on his AI, what was it, the deepfake HOH? Like, you really think like Chelsea and Cam, like, I think that was the baffling part, is like, if they would have just committed to it and established like, okay, we just had this house flip, now we actually have to work together, it could have worked. And I think honestly the same thing with like last week. And I think that's part of the issue with like Leah using the veto on Angela, where it's like they had this blindside last week getting Tucker out. Follow up with those people that blindsided him with you, and then maybe Leah will listen to your plan. You know, like, but instead you kept her in the dark, and that's why she. So it's like, if you have this house flip, follow up with people and ride that out. Don't try to go back immediately to the side that you just blindsided, because it might not work. And that's what I think they're trying to do. Like Kimo and Tigo are like, oh yeah, well no, I mean we got the visionaries. So it's like, do you? Does Quinn know you have the visionaries? Because according to him, I mean, one, you don't ever talk to him because you only talk to each other. But then also like you blindsided him. So why would he assume that you have his back?
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. It feels like they're trying to do the strategy of like they pop out, take someone out, and then go back into the background. Pop out, take someone out, go back into the background. And that ain't the way this works.
No.
You make enemies that way, and when you make enemies, trying to pretend that they're still friends is not the direction to go. Like, I understand Tikor, and I think Tikor and Chelsea have like a good relationship, and they're pals, and they like work together. Doesn't mean Chelsea's gonna be excited about you taking out Cedric and like half her alliance in a row, Cedric and Brooklyn and everything. No, you make enemies even if it's people that you enjoy, and you go after them because they're coming after you.
Yeah, no, and I think like to the credit of like Tucker and Quinn, I almost think there is a benefit when you have such a public target, where because then the whole house is aware. It's like, oh no, Tucker won HOH. It's like, well, at least we have an idea of where he's going, you know. And I think there is this, yeah, and that was part of the conversation all week with like Chemo, like with him on the block, where he almost went home tonight because they're like, we don't know where he's at. Like,
Yeah.
he says he's with us, but then he did this, but then he came back to us, and then he did this. So which is it? And it's like, sometimes you need like this public declaration of like, Cedric, Quinn, I'm coming for you. And so therefore everyone's like, okay, well, Tucker is a problem I had to deal with, but like, it's not me, you know?
If you want to be a power player in the game, you kind of got to draw lines in the sand. There are so few players who effectively can pull off a strong like floater strategy. And to do that, there have to be two strong separate sides, which there were for a little bit, and then you took out the king of one of those separate sides. I don't know. It's just like this whole like trying to dance in the middle, and it's like you're not that guy. You're not that guy.
No, 100%. And
Or
like,
gal.
again, I mean, you really messed up because I think one, the ramifications of your bad HOH last week, Tucker would have still been in this house when Quinn wins HOH. Quinn is going for Tucker and Angela, right? Like that's what Quinn's probably going to try to do. And then you don't have Joseph going home, which was a number voting with you, you know? So now sorry, Tigor, you have to decide between Joseph and Chemo. You're number one and probably a top 3-4 vote in your pocket. Like, that sucks, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, and that's the game. You make decisions, and it either benefits or how it doesn't. But yeah, I wouldn't put them in a good player category.
Do you know off
Also
the top of
really
your
boring.
head, or I don't know if you have it pulled up, do you know how old they are? I'm seeing this now and I'm a little
I think Tikor's pretty young, right?
she's 23, Chemo's 35. I didn't realize there was such an age difference between the two of them.
I don't. That's weird.
Isn't that that's pretty drastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm now in my early 30s, and I don't know if I could ever like connect game-wise that strongly with someone that's
No.
10 years younger, let alone 12. Like, that's their close allies there.
Huh.
I also didn't realize Rubino was 35.
No, me either.
It definitely puts things into perspective a little bit, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times you like look.
It's like,
and you be
oh, Angela's
oh,
50. That's why.
Cedric's 21. That makes a lot of sense. Like a lot of the things start to make sense at that point.
Right.
All right, should we get into Quinn?
Let's get to Quinn. I mean, I don't know what do you say about Quinn? Is this after
At face
tonight?
value,
I'm almost ready to declare him as like one of the worst players ever. Is that too
at face value,
reactionary?
yes. On the contrary,
Okay, give me the contrary.
he's still in the house. I don't know that anybody is like majorly targeting him at this point.
Uh-huh.
He has some allies. Like, do you see him going in the next couple weeks? Do you see anybody being like, "This is the week that we take out Quinn," or is he in the category that I just put Angela in, where they're just so not worried about him because he's such a mess that they just keep him along? Because yet he has so many alliances, constantly informs on all of those alliances. None of them are true. Like, I'm not going to tell anybody anything, and yet he keeps getting caught for it, and they keep telling him things. And he keeps getting away with it. Like, I don't understand. He's an enigma to me. I just don't understand it.
I think tonight and this week will be a big turning point.
Yeah.
On how strong is this female alliance.
Mm-hmm.
If they do try to go with this, I think he will be one of the first. I think Chemo they'll keep along. I think Cam they'll keep for a while. But like, I think Quinn could be there. But I don't know. But then I wonder, like, let's say he does make it to the end. What is his resume? Hey, I did all these bad moves and I still made it? Like, does he have a single good move that has benefited his game? But then how do you argue it hasn't benefited his game? Because he's like, hey, yeah, I know Cedric went home on my deepfake HOH, but like, I'm still in the house. Like, how do you argue against that? I don't know, but like, that is objectively a horrible move. This HOH week was a bad week. He sent home someone who he considered to be an ally.
Yeah, but ally with him is just, it doesn't make any sense. It's not a thing. Man, I don't. He's so hard to like wrap your head around. He's so incredibly bad, but also it's somewhat successful.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think this is where it's tough to decide, and this is going to go against my own logic because, you know, my new way of living is whoever wins is the best player that season. But
yeah, that'll never be my logic.
This might break me because, like,
the best game of a season.
I think whoever wins that season is the best player of that season. Best game? Maybe there's semantics there, but like, what is the game?
We won't get into deep into it. But my rebuttal
we could.
Do you agree that winning one of these games involves a level of chance? Like, you have to be lucky.
Sure,
to win
but like,
one of these games.
What doesn't?
So you can be the best player in the game and just be screwed by an unlucky something, right? And get voted out. Or something happens and you get screwed. So then there is some wiggle room there for the best player not being the person that wins.
I think the chance element is interesting. I think there's two different types of chance. I think there's the chance that's like, I don't know, a dumb twist, flip a coin, you're out, based on nothing but chance,
Yeah.
okay? But then there's also chance that puts you in a bad situation, and I think how you react to that situation and if you can overcome it is more so. So it's like, yes, I think certain winners have easier paths than others, or there could be better players that maybe just didn't have the best reaction to that poor luck of the draw.
I would almost argue you can't say definitively unless it's even like there might be a player who is screwed by a twist, but they like still have a chance. It's not one where they're immediately out. They're just like, oh, this isn't ideal. Let's see if I can figure it out, and then they're out because of it. If the winner, the person who you'd presume is the best in the game, got dealt that same thing where they got screwed by the thing and also went out, like would they be? I don't know. Like it's arguing
I
for them
think
based
you
on
would
separate
have to.
resumes that feels unfair.
You could also back it up a couple steps, like
Yeah.
what did they do to put themselves in that position where that chance was put upon them? I don't know.
And to be clear, like injuries, obviously we're pushing to the side, but injuries are a big thing where you could be the best player and you just, in Survivor specifically, you like
Yeah.
get an infection and you're out. Like that happens.
I think it's also tough with that logic because I think what game, what sport, what competition doesn't have a little bit of chance with it, just like a tad. You know,
it
like
exists, for
even
sure.
like a football game. You know, however that coin toss goes at the beginning, that could change the outcome of the game. Maybe not. Maybe the better team always wins, or maybe, you know, I don't know. It is
That's
dependent on
why-
whoever goes first.
Those are different because they give you the totality of like a season or a career to really find the mean, find that average of like, okay, this is the kind of player they were. Yes, they had these peaks where they did this, they had these valleys where they did this, but they consistently did this well. With Big Brother and Survivor, you're only able to see the one game. So yes, if the coin flips a certain way and because of that you're the best player and your team wins, you're the MVP of that game, you're the best player of that game, doesn't mean you're the best player in that game. Doesn't mean you're the best player that played that game. And
I
that
guess
day.
the way that I would see it is like a season of Big Brother is one game.
Yep.
So whoever the MVP is of that is, you know, right. So I think that's also though why I value more so like a social wins as opposed to like just competition wins, where it's like, look, Jag, I guess by my logic, was like the best player last year because he played according to the rules of that season, which was like win competitions. But I think if you throw him in a different situation against like another winner who maybe didn't win as many competitions, I think that winner might be better than him because they won despite not being safe, not having power. Like they were dealt a poor amount of chance. That's the wrong way of doing it. But like you know what I mean? Like he had a better hand dealt to him because the competitions and everything were suited towards him. But I still think he was, by the rules of the game, the best player that season.
That season. Okay. If you say that season, I can eat that.
Well, I'm not going to say the best player ever.
No, I know, but like I would say Tyler is a better player than Casey. Like if you put him in 100 random simulations of Big Brother,
Yeah,
I think,
okay, that's
and
fair.
it's tough to know.
Yeah.
I think that he would be a better player overall.
Okay.
She was the best player for that season. She did what she played the perfect wait until the end and just go off.
I think this level of
Murder
semantics has finally got us on the same page because I think I agree with that.
Yeah. I think that was the perfect like example to give you.
Yeah. So like a better, well-rounded player, but like he was not the best player at that time for that season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean maybe. Now here's, I think where my logic is faulty, and this is where I'm about to throw it all out the window. Because like I think if Queen gets to the end and wins the game, can I say he's the best player this season?
You have to.
I would have to. And then I think
you say it.
I look at like Tucker. Like, am I ready to say Quinn's a better player than Tucker?
Yeah, because Tucker
Do
had
I have
no
to?
sense for maintaining his and I love Tucker. No sense of maintaining like threat level.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
playing games, put me on the block. I'm gonna win. Screw all of you. That was his mentality.
Yeah, I just and getting back to Quinn, it's just like so crazy to me that someone could have so many bad moves. Especially, and it's not even like we've seen players have bad moves, but there is such a stark gap between his confidence and what ends up happening because he thinks he is the super fan of the season, and he might be the most knowledgeable Big Brother player, but he is so confident in everything where it's like, this is my master plan, I'm the villain, blah blah blah, and then every Thursday night he just has this like sad puppy dog face because he's like, oh, it's like I messed up.
Yep. I think the game going back all the way back to the beginning of the conversation. I think the game gets super interesting here because I feel like during AI Arena, the nominations and the targets is very like shotgun, like scattershot vibe. Whereas now that you only have to nominate 2 people and there's only one opportunity to get off, you kind of bust out the sniper rifle. Like it's time to like really figure out who our target is and get them. Um, and I wonder if at that point it's easier to go for Quinn rather than just throwing him in because he did get nominated, well, once
By
and then got
America.
saved, but he did get nominated. Like he is, and Tucker's out. But yeah, I don't know. Quinn's fascinating.
Yeah, I do wonder how the game is going to shift now that the AI arena is done. Because as much as we praised it for like developing this new type of strategy, way of playing, like I wonder if we're going to drastically go back to, the veto not being used and having predictable eviction nights and just like, this is my target, please respect my wishes. Okay, HOH. Or if what the AI arena has caused to happen in the house, if that will continue and players will still play on that level. So I'm very fascinated to see how that goes.
I think it'll simplify and it'll be pretty boring the last couple weeks. That's my guess, honestly.
I'm definitely a little worried. Again, as much as I love Joseph, I don't think he's like a huge loss to like the dynamics of the season. But
No.
I think Tucker, even like Brooklyn, I think was like a little bit of a loss because she definitely has some feistiness towards the end. And Cedric, I don't know. I think I'm just like starting to get to the point. I was like, okay, these people are really gonna have to carry. Like something pretty good is gonna have to happen because I don't want to see just like Chemo, Tikor, and Cam sit around for the final week and make the final 3. Like that's gonna ruin this season for me.
Yeah, it's not going to be good, but it's possible. It's very possible. Now they wouldn't let Cam get that far. Cam's going to go soon.
I hope so. I wish he would have went instead of Tucker.
Yep.
That would have been so nice. Oh well. All right. What else we got to talk about? Anything else? Did we cover it all?
Joseph,
topics? I guess we do need to talk about Joseph.
Yeah, we didn't talk about him a ton. I don't know. I still have the same vibes. I feel like he was super confident. The way he talked to Angela was a tough look to have to eat his words the next day. Is it definitely somewhere in the middle between your perspective of him and my perspective of him? Absolutely. I feel like he was in this constant battle with Quinn of like Quinn was the out there like I'm the super fan and he was like nah, I'm the real super fan because I'm playing like covertly and I'm doing all this stuff behind the scenes. And he was having good conversations. I just don't know if he ever fully connected with a lot of the people in the house, and that was going to be his downfall.
Yeah, I think part of what got me so hyped was like preseason, he definitely talked a big game of like wanting to do it different, wanting to get back to like more old school and not do what has been happening the past few seasons. So I think he is a super fan in the sense where he understands what like the audience wants to see. And I remember even like that first week when he voted out Matt, he said that in like his vote where he's like, it's not going to be like other Big Brother seasons. We're doing it different this season. So I appreciate that like he wanted that attempt and he like acknowledges that like, hey, I think it'd be really fun to win without having won a competition. Now, when you compare yourself to Dr. Will, that's kind of a tough look. But I get the sentiment of like, wouldn't this be cool if we're able to do this again? Unfortunately, I just don't think the House was on the same page of like, this is what we're doing, because they still wanted a big alliance and they still valued competition wins and didn't see him as a threat or anything.
Yeah. And I don't know that he necessarily said, I'm like Dr. Will. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember the exact transcript. I think it was just like,
Yeah, it was something
hey,
like,
there have been players who have done this before, like Dr.
Yeah.
Will in season 2. But yeah, it's a tough look to bring him up and be mentioned in that conversation ever.
yeah, I wish he would have been better. I'm willing to admit he wasn't a great player, but I still think there was something there. I just wish, like so many other of these players, he was more proactive, and we got to see. It's like you're right. He was involved in conversations. He was involved in several of these blindsides. He had decent relationships with a lot of people, but like nothing that really made him stand out. And I think, I don't know, just what are you doing, Quinn? Why, like, why him? Why would you put him up? If you want Chemo to go, then put Chemo's number 1 up so that that's at least 1 vote to not keep Chemo. Like, I don't understand how you don't know math.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's a complicated thing, but hey, that's Quinn for you.
Like, she doesn't have to be your target. Just say, like, hey, Chemo, I'm sorry, Chemo's my target. I know you'd vote to keep him, so that's why I had to put you on the block. Like, it's so easy. It is so easy. Big Brother is such an easy game. That's my point.
And I think it's because he wanted to have the excuse of, like, you voted for Angela last week, so it just makes sense that I would pick you. And that just doesn't make sense. Like, that does.
Well,
you
the
don't
fact
need
that,
to
like,
hide
he
behind stupid reason
excused
like that.
he excused T-Core because she was the HOH. He's like, well, you didn't vote for her, so, like, I'm not going to put you on the block. It was like, she was the HOH. Angela was her target. Like, what are you talking about? What are you actually talking about? I'm done. Quinn gets me so worked up. Gets me so worked up. I love it. I need him and Angela in the final 2. Can you imagine how electric that would be?
I wouldn't watch, I don't think.
You would have to watch, and you would
I
have
don't
to
think I'd watch.
acknowledge them as the 2 best players of the season.
I think I'd check Twitter later and call it good.
But you know that would be the most entertaining outcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm in this. I'm in this for the entertainment, and that would be just so ideal.
Nah, I'm rooting for a Chelsea Mackenzie final 2.
Yeah, just like every other boring season. I get it.
You really want to have to admit that either Angela or Quinn are the best player of the season.
I think they would be the best representation of what this season is. Yes.
That's like you wanting what's his face Q to be successful last season in
Yes.
Survivor.
I think
No.
Q would have been the best representation of that season. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's like Xavier winning, right? I think Xavier is a great player, like a good winner, blah blah blah. But that is such a boring win. Like if you give me almost anyone else to win that season, I'm like that's a fun win. You know, like I'm in it more for like the fun, entertaining finales rather than like, oh, this was the best player, congrats. You know,
That's fair.
like I like Chelsea, but like her just making the most of Quinn's mistakes all season isn't going to be a great win.
It's a fun little wrinkle.
Oh my gosh, he's going to get her out accidentally. I want him to be HOH every week.
Or he's gonna try to get her out, and somehow he's gonna end up getting voted out.
That should be the twist. Like for the next 3 weeks, we're just gonna have Quinn as HOH, and we'll see how he just keeps messing up. How does this keep happening?
He's like, all right, T-Core and Chemo, I promise I won't put you guys up. Instead, I'm gonna put up Chelsea and Leah because that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, this will be the last thing. I know we've talked a lot, but do you think he partly put up Joseph because he wanted him out of the picture to have Leah to himself?
Yeah. I
I mean, that had to be part of it, right?
think that's in there a little bit. Yeah.
I feel so bad for Leah, honestly. Like, I just like, what do you do when you have like these two guys who clearly, like, I'm sorry, like, they would never have a chance, right?
You drop in things that are clearly putting them in the friend zone and hope that they catch those signs, which she has been doing. That's
I'm
what you
like
gotta do.
every time I like I don't know. I don't watch a lot of live feeds this season, but every time I open up Twitter, I'm always seeing new clips of like look at her body language, and it's so obvious. Like I don't know what more she could do, and
She
she's
does
being
look great in
so nice
yellow.
about it. Who does? Quinn?
Leah,
Leah?
did you not see that?
I must have missed that one.
Quinn went through he went like a couple minutes of just like complimenting her, and one
Oh,
of them was
that's
like, "Man, you look
right.
really good in yellow."
That's right. Did you see Heisem from last year has been like putting videos online of like dissecting people's like mental behaviors in the house. It's very bizarre because he's like a
Why?
well, he's like a doctor or something, right? Like something in that field. I don't know. What's his
Yeah, but I don't think it's that.
Well, he had like a whole video about Angela, and it was like you got to look up the video because he's like explaining. He's like here are some of the symptoms that Angela is experiencing after being in the house. Blah blah blah. Like this emotion works up. Blah blah blah. Well, he had one about Leah and Quinn this week, and it was like dissecting a clip of like Leah's body language, and he started to dig into like Quinn's like history. He's like, my guess is Quinn has some like history of trauma when it comes to rejection, so therefore he has these mental blockers that is unable to see this like Leah's denial of his advances. It's like the most clinical way to describe it. It is so funny because I don't think he doesn't think it's a joke. I think Heisem is legitimately doing this to like educate people, and it's so good. I'll send it to you.
Isom's a geriatric physician.
I
A
don't know,
doctor
man.
for old people.
I don't
He's
know.
not qualified to like read body language.
Oh, I learned all about Quinn's trauma that he's apparently working through, and that's why he's not
Especially when
reading
he was
these
in the house
signals.
for 2 weeks. You don't know anything. Golly.
Oh man, what a guy. Yeah, when did he go
Hand on
out?
my face. It was week 2. Or week 3.
Kristen from last season. I saw her name pop up recently, and I could not remember who she was. And I still looked up pictures, and I still just she wasn't on last season, right? Like
No.
that's just not a person. Okay, just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, she was out real quick.
All right, anything else you got?
Nope, that's all I got.
Cool. All right, for more episodes, you know where to find us. NotGameAllPersonal.com. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere list of podcasts, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, at NGAPPod. That's at NGAPPod. I'm Nathan. This is Tony. We'll see you next time.
Remember to love one another.